sign language to communicate, introduce ideas, and prove they are not something to be cast to the side because they can't hear. Marley Madeline, a deaf actress, once said, "The only thing I can't do is hear." My name is Rachel Snidely, and I am passionate about ASL. Sign language was first invented by Juan Pablo de Benet, a Spanish man who published the first book on deaf education in 1620. His writings were based on the work of Girolamo Codaro, an Italian physician who originated different gestures for teaching the deaf. Until that point in history, deaf people were thought to be unable to form ideas and uneducated simply because they couldn't hear or communicate with others. As Codano's new language spread, the deaf were not only gaining a form of communication, but respect as well. This is how sign language and the idea of it was created, but when French Sign Language was brought to the United States in 1816 by Thomas Gallaudet, he developed American Sign Language. Although there are over 300 different types of sign language in the world, America mainly sticks to three: ASL, Pidgin Sign English, or PSE, and Sign Exact English, or SEE. ASL has its own syntax and grammar and follows a time, topic, comment, sentence structure. It also cuts unnecessary words such as the, am, and is, along with others. PSE is drawn from ASL, so it doesn't use unnecessary words, but it follows the English word order, which is subject, verb, object. SEE is based upon ASL signs, but is expanded with words, prefixes, tenses, and endings to give a clear and complete visual presentation of English. Because of this, ASL is very different from English. It is a unique language developed by deaf people and is used in its purest form by people who are deaf. Many people think of it as a visual code for English or too easy to be taught in schools, but it's so much more. They think this because the sign for a given word is most likely a charade or modified spelling of said word that might be accidentally used in a regular conversation. An example of this was a different language is Spanish. In Spanish, hola means hello. This is common knowledge to many English-speaking people, but obviously hola isn't English. ASL, being its own language, not only has its own vocabulary, but also its own grammar that differs from English. But ASL grammar is not just word order. It's your body language, facial expressions, mouth shapes, and more. Sign language varies from country to country, and even some states have a separate dialect of sign language or use different signs based on their expressions in native tongue. Sign language is developed within deaf communities so they are independent of the surrounding spoken language. For example, ASL is quite different from British Sign Language, or BSL, despite the fact that in both America and Britain, English is the main spoken language. Even the alphabet is dramatically different, where the ASL alphabet uses only one hand, the BSL alphabet shown on the left uses both hands to create more complicated gestures, which still translate to the same letters as the ASL alphabet shown on the right. If a hearing person was looking for a job in the deaf world, they might choose a career in interpreting. Sign language interpreters have impacted the deaf community by helping signing and hearing people come together and interact with each other. Interpreters are people who know at least two languages, a signing language and its spoken equivalent. They translate in meetings, theatrical productions, and other circumstances that include signing and hearing people. They are the main key for transmission of ideas. Without sign language interpreters, deaf people would still most likely be seen as uneducated people who are incapable of having thoughts simply because they can't communicate them. Interpreters don't just translate their words, they translate their ideas. One college that specializes in ASL interpreting is Gallaudet University in Washington, D.C. Gallaudet is the world's only university designed to be barrier-free for deaf and hard of hearing students. In the words of Irving King Jordan, the first deaf president at Gallaudet University, "At Gallaudet, deafness isn't an issue. You don't even think about it. Students can pay attention to accounting or psychology or journalism, but when a deaf person goes to another college, no matter how supportive it is, that person doesn't get the same access." Sign language is changing. It's starting to be referred to as a foreign language in some colleges and can be used as foreign language credits. Sign language classes are growing nationwide with increased demand for knowledge of ASL. However, I think ASL should be an option in all schools because not everyone will study abroad, but anyone can become deaf. The future of ASL is looking excellent. With the number of people in the deaf community growing every day, ASL is currently the fourth most used language in the United States, but with increased interest, it could move up on the list. ASL combines gestures and finger spelling to make sentences and phrases that enable the deaf community to communicate with the rest of the world. ASL has grown tremendously in popularity over the years and will will only help bridge the communication gap between signing and hearing people. Sign language is a major part of my life that I've been learning over the past 2 years. It all started when my friend Becca told me that in her sign language class she had to write a sign scenario between her and a friend, and I was the friend. We then proceeded to learn the conversation, and I've been hooked ever since. A few months after this, I met a deaf woman at a fundraiser with whom I used my limited knowledge to sign with, and that was what pushed me to wanting to become fluent. Her words and story were so inspiring, I simply couldn't shrug this off. This year, CSPA had a sign language enhancement class, and through this, I learned even more. I even got to teach a class. In cessation, ASL is an intricate language that can be used by anyone, hearing or signing. It is extremely popular and is one of the most used languages in the US. ASL is a complete, unique language different from English that was developed by deaf people for deaf people. Anyone can use sign language to communicate and exchange ideas with others. Deaf YouTuber Lauren Redputs explained, "I don't want your pity, but if I ask you to repeat something, don't pass me aside, don't say never mind, because I am not broken and I do not need to be fixed." Thank you and have a nice day.